this video, we will analyze Act 2, Scene 3 of the play The Alchemist by Ben Jonson. Act 2, Scene 3 begins with Mammon entering, and he wishes good morning to Subtle, and Subtle inquires about Surly, because Mammon is also accompanied by his friend Surly. And Mammon says that Mammon introduces Surly to Subtle, saying that he is an heretic, which refers to religion, because it means that he is a non-believer. And he says that he has brought Surly with him to convert him, which means to make him believe in alchemy. So Surly is introduced to Subtle by Mammon as a non-believer in alchemy, and Mammon tells Subtle that he should try to convince him he should try to make him believe in the art of alchemy. So with this we find that the scene begins. So because Mammon has come early in the morning, it makes Subtle question his intention, and he says that if he does not have any good intentions, then he is afraid that their experiment might fail and all his hard work might go in vain. So Subtle, once again here we see that Subtle, in order to prove himself how pious and honest a man he is, tells Mammon that because he is going to have the philosopher's stone, so he should have honest purpose. He should have honest intentions, and he should not nurture any worldly desire, because and he should not think of uh, luxury, he should not think of lustful desires. And he says that he finds him covetous. If we look at the second line, we'll see where Subtle is kind of warning Mammon that he appears covetous, he appears greedy, and that's why he has come so early in the morning and he doesn't want to miss the opportunity. So this argues something. So he says that this makes him think that he has a carnal appetite, which means he wants to fulfill his physical desires. And he says that if this happens, if this is the case, then it will he is going to lose the blessing. Okay, if he has uncontrollable, if he is in an uncontrollable hurry, and he says that therefore he is afraid of failure, to see his labors which are almost like he even at perfection, which is almost reached its perfect, the stage of perfection, okay, which he has achieved through long observation, patience, and therefore he will be very sorry, he will feel very sorry that if if his experiment does not reach the place which he wishes to take it. So it will be really sad for Subtle to see all his labor going into waste. So here we see that he's kind of warning Mammon, and because Surly is present here and he has already been informed by Mammon that Surly does not believe in this art of alchemy. And so he tells something in the first passage. Subtle info tells Mammon, he's warning that he must, he says that he has put in so much of hard work to prepare the philosopher's stone only to make it only to make it to be only to put it to use for public good. So this is the aim. So here he says that have looked no way but unto public good, to pious uses. So he says that this philosopher's stone Mammon must use for good purposes, and he should use it to do charity. And then he says that he should not misuse this benefit and should not use the philosopher's stone to fulfill his his personal lusts. Okay, so then if he does that, then a curse will befall him and it will take away all his clever and secret ways, and he will not be able to have a blissful life. And then here we find that Mammon tries his best to convince Subtle that he has full faith in alchemy, and Subtle doesn't need to be afraid or doesn't need to doubt his intentions. It is Surly who needs to be convinced. And because he says that he doesn't have any faith in alchemy, and Surly at the same time says that it is really difficult to convince him. And Subtle again, once again, says that it won't be very difficult for him to convince Surly because his work is almost done. He has almost reached the final stage of transmutation. And then in the meantime, we see Face enters, and this exchange, this conversation between Face and Subtle in this scene revolves around the process. Revolves around the process. What I mean to say is that, so through their conversation, they try to convince the people present that Subtle is indeed a true alchemist and he is very skilled in the field, and that whatever they are doing is uh, authentic. So, so they kind of converse. So Subtle asks him some question that whether he has added vinegar, whether he has filtered the water and all. So everything related to the experiment, that what color he has appeared, all this. And because Mammon is so enthusiastic, because Mammon is so excited to get hold of the philosopher stone, so he appears completely blinded, and he believes. And when he hears this conversation, he feels that yes, the work is about to be completed. So as this conversation goes on, so in this scene we find that Face comes in and then Face leaves. So he enters and then he exits. And after that, we find that Mammon, so the next important part in this scene is where Mammon promises, he gives that assurance to Subtle that that he will use the stone in pious ways, in good ways. So what are the things that he will do? He says that he will find colleges, he will establish colleges, grammar schools, and he will also help uh, young girls getting married. He will arrange their marriages, he will build hospitals, and then he will also build a church. So he says these are the things that he will do. But Subtle still pretends as if he is not convinced that Mammon has good intentions. So continuously we see this conversation goes on where Subtle says that the process of the projection or the transmutation has been successful. And again we see, so the process of alchemy they continue to describe. And then again, once again, Face enters, and Face says something to confirm what he has seen, that the iron is now, he only needs to put the iron, to in the same heat. So they continue to talk in a way, I mean, in a jargon, you can say that they continue to converse using a vocabulary which is bound to bewilder anybody, because Mammon, although he has full faith in what they are doing, he cannot understand what they are talking, but he believes that whatever they are doing, they are honest people. So Mammon then, yeah, continues to talk to Subtle, and Subtle also, Face comes and gives him information. So they continue this conversation, which means that Face every now and then enters and informs Subtle about the experiment that is going on. Okay, because he's the one who takes care of, or who looks after the furnace. And then we find that Surly, he as he hears this conversation, and as he watches whatever is going on in front of him, he clearly understands that Mammon is caught in the snare, that they have successfully entrapped him. So if we come to the line where Surly says to himself aside that, yes, are you bolted? So bolted means caught in the snare, that they have completely taken you into confidence. And then again we find and then we find that some discussion goes on where Subtle asks him that they require more tin, they require more metal, and Subtle asks Mammon to give £9 or 10 pounds to Face, because they need, in order to produce more gold, they need more base metals, which they do not have. So he puts forth before him the requirement. And not only that, uh, Subtle also tells Mammon, to go home and get whatever utensils he has. So give him £9, you may give him 10, yes, 20, and be cozened too. So when Surly hears Subtle telling Mammon to give him 9 or 10 pounds, Surly talks to himself aside, and he says that yes, why 10? Give him £20 and get cheated in the process. And there we see that the money is given. And Subtle once again here tries to convince Mammon, saying that because Mammon wants all their experiments to become successful, that's why this money is required. Otherwise, it was not necessary. So Face comes in, takes the money, and leaves. And like I said, Mammon is very excited and he's in a state of hurry. He appears completely impatient because again he asks the same question: when do you make projection, which means when will it be ready? So as this continues, and then after that we find that Mammon is asked by Subtle to bring all the metals that he possesses. So all iron and metal from his home, like iron, you may bring them too. We will change all metals, because Mammon knows that if he can provide them with more metals, they can transmute them into gold, which he will possess. So see, he says, dripping pans, racks, iron rods, hangers, pot hangers, hooks, whatever you have. And Surly continues to observe everything and realizes that what an idiot, what an ass, to be an ass. See the line where Surly says that Mammon is so happy to become an idiot, or to become an ass right before them. And then after that we find this part is significant, where it throws light on Surly's suspicion. Okay, so Surly Surly's suspicion here is that he tells Subtle directly that the entire experiment seems impossible to him, that it is not possible to hatch gold in a furnace, that this is how they cannot manufacture gold in a furnace. It is absurd and it is unproductive and impossible. Just as they, so there is a so he compares it to how eggs were produced by uh, Egyptians. So what they did, the Egyptians, they used to put them inside a heap of dung, eggs. Okay, they used to put that, and this is how they used to produce chicken. So this part throws light on Surly's suspicion, and the argument continues between Surly and Subtle. And then Surly says that so Surly's point is that nature did not produce perfect gold in the earth at once. So he says that gold was never produced in a perfect form by nature. It had a different, it had a different form before it became perfect. So in the next passage he uses a very uh, incomprehensible jargon where we see that Subtle tries to explain to Surly how imperfectly gold was created, and his point is that he wants to establish that nature produces imperfect things, and it then proceeds to make perfect things. So that's what they are doing. And then again we find that Surly continues to give his counter argument, and he says that he questions, in fact, Surly questions Subtle that he's talking about, medicine, mercury, sulfur, and all the difficult jargon that he's using, the fancy words that he is using will bewilder any man, because it is not possible for anybody to understand what he is saying. It more and more his jargon obscures their art, which means people are not able to uh, understand. But again, we see that Mammon will always speak in favor of Subtle. Mammon will always speak in his favor. So Mammon says that the alchemists. So when Subtle says that the alchemists use these terms only to make their purpose, only to make their art appear more dignified. And so this is how Subtle defends himself, that why he is using such a difficult vocabulary, such pharmacy. So he's using pharmaceutical terms and all. So he says that these are the terms that were used by the alchemists to make their art appear very, very dignified. So continuously, like I said, that Subtle continues to give his arguments, but Surly is not convinced, and Surly believes that alchemy. So if you look at this line, he says that it is somewhat like tricks of the cards. That just as when people play cards, they get cheated. So this alchemy is also a pretty kind of game, somewhat like tricks of the cards. And it doesn't, and whatever jargon they use, whatever vocabulary they use, it doesn't clarify anything about their art. And so the argument continues, and in the meantime, Mammon notices someone entering. And who enters? It is Dol who enters. And immediately his attention goes towards her, and he asks who that lady is, and Subtle instructs Dol to get inside. So after that, Subtle leaves, and we see that a conversation takes place between Face and Mammon. Between Face and Mammon, and Face is called in because Subtle is very angry because Dol came out, and Subtle leaves, and the conversation takes place between between Face and Mammon. And Mammon inquires about Dol, who she is, and Dol's new identity is explained to Mammon by Face, where he says that she is a lord's sister. Okay, she's the sister of a lord, and that she's a very dignified, she's a rare scholar, but she is mad, and she has been sent here to be cured. This is what she is. And he also mentions that she is mad, sir, and sent hither. Why sent hither? To be cured. So she is mad. So they are taking care of her in order to cure her of her ailment. We have already learned that the philosopher's stone acts as a medicinal potion which can cure all ailments, all diseases. So we can connect this to this part as well. But like I said, that his attention gets drawn, Mammon's attention gets drawn towards Dol, and now he becomes very, very curious about Dol. So one advice is given to Surly by Mammon at this stage. He tells Surly that he should treat Subtle fairly. He should not insult him, because this man has a good conscience, and he does not give tedious prescriptions like the Greek physician, so he should treat him. He's an excellent doctor of alchemy. And then Face informs Mammon about Dol's problem, where he says that she is a most rare scholar and she has studied the works by Bruton. And this has, so if he ever by mistake mentions Hebrew, it will get her, it will make her mad, and she will fall into the fit into her fit of madness. So he should not talk about Hebrew in front of her. And she says that Face also says that if Mammon once mentions religion, if he once mentions Hebrew in front of her, like I said, she will get into her fit of madness, and she will keep on talking so much that it will also make Mammon mad. And this is how she is being introduced to Mammon by Face. And then Mammon, like I said, becomes very curious about Dol, and now he is desperate to meet her. So he asks Face, like, when is the right time to meet her or to talk to her? When is the time when she will not be in a state of, in her fit of madness, and how does she behave when she is not in that state? And Face says that she is very polite and sweet. She's lovely. She has a lively and pleasant nature. And then Mammon asks that if there is any way to access her or to taste her wit, because she is a rare scholar and all. But thirdly, at this point, we find that also becomes suspicious, and thirdly actually cannot believe that how Mammon has allowed himself to be duped by these people. So he tells Mammon that Dol is a prostitute. But Mammon, like I says, that cannot be convinced by Surly in any way, and instead he admonishes Surly, saying that he's scandalizing a worthy personality like Dol. And after this, we find that Surly makes a very important comment where he says that your friend to that I am your friend, Sir Epicure. I am your friend, but and I hate to be fooled, but they have already. So what he means to say here that these con artists have already fooled him a lot. So there was no need for them to appoint, these immoral women in order to attract Epicure Mammon. So their stone is lechery enough to pay for without this bait, which means the philosopher's stone is already a huge bait that they have used to fool Epicure Mammon. So there was no need for them to appoint or to use this additional attraction of an immoral woman like Dol. And after this, we find that Mammon, Mammon is desperate. Mammon now wants to meet Dol, and Surly also, because he's very skeptical, he's doubtful of everything that is going on, and Face comes and informs Surly that a man named Captain Face wants to meet him at the temple church in the next 30 minutes because he has some urgent business. And in the meantime, we find that Surly, he says that okay, he will go and meet the captain at the church, and Face also tells Mammon that now he should leave and he should come back after 2 hours, okay, in order to, and then he will make all the arrangement to help him meet Dol. And now Surly is determined to expose their scam. So he says that he will do everything in order to expose this con artist, because he's pretty sure that these people are in no way honest people. They are dishonest and they are determined to fool Epicure Mammon, but he is not going to allow them to fool him. So now he will go and meet the captain at the church. And another thing about which Surly is convinced, that this house, okay, is a body house, which means there are immoral women. So now he takes an oath that he will get into, he will probe into the matter, and he will expose their scam. So here we see Surly leaves the stage, and this scene ends with a conversation that takes place between Mammon and Face. And here we see that uh, Face comes and he informs Mammon that he should not discuss all these matters with his friend Surly, okay, and he should not allow him to become more suspicious. But now Mammon is all set. Mammon is all set to meet Dol, so he tells Face that he has to promise him that he will make an arrangement to help him talk to Dol. And he's also going, not only that, he will not only make an arrangement, but Face will go and speak to Dol on his behalf and tell him that he's a noble fellow, and he will shower him with praises before Dol. And Face also says that yes, he's loyal to him, and he will go and talk to her, and he will also tell her that he is going to, that once he gets the Philosopher's Stone, he will make her an empress, he will make her royal, and he himself will become the king of Bantam. So the scene ends with Mammon praising Face, and but one thing is to be noted here, that although all these things, all these different conversations are happening, but Face does not forget to remind Mammon that he should go home and return after 2 hours with all the metal that he possesses. Okay, and in the meantime, Subtle will remain busy with the process of transmutation. So Mammon becomes so happy with the service that is offered by Face that he gives him more money, and he says that I was born to make thee my good vassal, that I am going to make your fortune. Okay, I will shower you with more and more money, and I'll give you a place where you will be in a position to humiliate the best lords. So with this we find with this conversation, where Mammon is once again taken into confidence by Face, and Face also succeeds in convincing him that Dol is a rare scholar, and she is such a distinguished scholarly lady, that whoever talks to her gets mad seeing her knowledge. So once again we see that not only in connection to the Philosopher's Stone, but also in case of Dol, Epicure Mammon gets fooled by Face, because as readers we need to notice that what are the things about, or what are the things about Epicure Mammon that these two con artists are exploiting. Firstly, his greed for money, his greed for gold, his greed for a luxurious life, and they are also aware, since they are also aware of his desires. Remember what he said, that he would like to have, that he would have a lot of wives like King Solomon, a lot of concubines. He will spend each night with 50 women, because he will make himself so strong like Hercules. So having heard all this, now they have become aware of his weaknesses. That what are the things about him that they can exploit. So now they are going to use Dol in order to extract, in order to dupe, in order to extract, of course, in order to extract more money, and in order to fool him more and more. So with this we come to the end of the analysis of Act 2, Scene 3. I hope you enjoyed the lecture. This scene is a bit lengthy though, so if you really liked it, do share it, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.